Hey, good evening. It's really awesome to have you guys here. My name is Daniel. I was a professional opera singer and beatboxer, and tonight we're gonna be listening to Disturbed's Down with the Sickness. So, I really enjoyed Disturbed's rendition of The Sound of Silence, so we're just gonna keep this bandwagon rolling. It was brought to my attention that this song in particular, a lot of people just really love and really immerse themselves in, and I really think that that's so awesome, and I would love to have that experience as well. So, without further delay, let's just jump into it. Right off the bat, dude. Oh, ah!
Your servant died. Will you give it to me? It seems what's left of my human side is slowly changing in me. Will you give it to me? Looking at my own reflection, when suddenly it changes. Suddenly it changes. Oh no, there is no turning back now. Woken up the demon in me. You're among it down with the sickness. You're among it down with the sickness. You're among it down with the sickness. Open up your hate and let everyone make. You're among it down with the sickness. You must not get up. You're among it down with the sickness. You fuck get up. You're among it down with the sickness. And this is the gift that has been given to me. See inside you, the sickness is rising. Don't try to deny what you feel. Will you give it to me? It seems that all that was good has died and is decaying in me. Will you give it to me? It seems you're having some trouble in dealing with these changes, living with these changes. The world is a scary place now that you've woken up the demon. The enemy. You're among it down with the sickness.
Yeah.
You're among it down with the sickness. You're among it down with the sickness. Open up your hate and let it run to me. You're among it down with the sickness. You might not get up. You're among it down with the sickness. You fuck get up. Down with the sickness. And this is the gift that has been given to me.
Oh, dude, this is so intense.
Get up, down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Open up your hate and then it open to me. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You come on, get down with the sickness. You fuck, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. And this has now come over me.
Dude, that was such a great time. How do I describe what just happened? Just immediately starting off with these core drums and just having this really intense guttural from a classical vocal technique perspective, what he's doing to his voice, I wouldn't say is necessarily the healthiest thing. But that being said, I don't really understand this style of singing. I'm not really quite sure how it's produced, just in your body, not in terms of audio editing. But I do have a friend of mine who does heavy metal and scream music, and he found a way that works really well for him, and it doesn't shatter or hurt his voice at all, and all power to him. So I do believe there is a healthier way to approach this type of singing. I'm just not well versed enough to really elaborate on it or just to really know what it is. So unfortunately, I won't really be able to talk about the technique that he's using to approach this style of music, but I will definitely take the piece apart in my analysis right now to learn everything I can about this piece using the knowledge that I do have. So let's just jump into the analysis. Yeah!
You feel that?
Yeah, and just starting off with these whispers, like all good storytelling, you have to start really small or start with a main protagonist that has so much room to grow. And to start off with these whispers, just to end up in that really powerful and loud sound that he generates, it's great contrast just from a musical perspective.
Ah, shit.
I love that the guitar is just really in tandem with the drums here. Really great stuff.
Oh,
You can't deny the level of energy that they have on this stage. If you're an audience member going to see a performance, and it doesn't even have to be this type of music, any kind of performance, you want to make sure that all of the performers on stage are delivering an amazing show, especially if you, an audience member, are paying money to see them. You don't want to see them uncomfortable. You don't want to see them make mistakes. You spent money so you can really enjoy what they have to offer you. And so to have this kind of energy and confidence and presence that emits this palpable aura of strength and energy and confidence, just everything coming together to produce this type of sound quality. It's, dude, it's so great.
Drowning deep in my sea of loathing, broken your servant I live. Will you give it to me?
Yeah. Just in terms of those musical cadences that he was running through right there. His vibrato, pretty nice, honestly. It's a little raw, and what I mean by that is it's not as refined or as well polished as I believe it could be. If you were to have, like, the last vowel he sang, an open epsilon, you would have something a little bit more really strong and vocalized. You can hear the air spinning in comparison to that where you still hear the breath spinning, you still hear it being vocalized, and it's being vocalized in a healthy way. I'm more or less just saying I think it could be even further polished and further refined if he chose to do so. But to be honest, I actually really like his vibrato here as it is, mainly because that rawness and just that intensity that he has in it actually contributes to the foundationally powerful beats that are coming from the drums and the guitar. Everything is just so raw, even the voice. And even though his voice is more tender, like outside of the screaming parts, just in the musical verses where he's actually vocalizing and singing without that grit, it is tender. It does have that element of rawness, so you don't really lose any of the texture of the piece that's coming from the other instruments. So I actually really do love just the way and the fashion that he is singing through this.
It seems what's left of my human side is slowly changing in me. Will you give it to me? Looking at my...
Just to have the dichotomy of something really legato or really just smooth all the way through, ba-da-da-da, versus that really gritty, will you give it to me? Just kind of, just to have both of those in the same musical sentence. It's so polarizing, but I actually really love listening to that contrast. It adds a whole variety of textures, not just one thing that you have to attach yourself to, but it creates a very compelling experience for the listener, and I really love that.
My own reflection. When suddenly it changes, violently it changes.
Oh man, just that scream, that just going up and down. So cool, man. So cool.
Violently it changes.
So good. Yeah, right there. If you were to do something much more legato in terms of the sentence, you would do something like, oh. But here it's bum 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 bum, and it feels so exact and choppy. And typically in music, I don't care for choppy cadences. Let's use a roller coaster metaphor. If I'm on a roller coaster, I don't want it to be consistently bumpy all the way through. But if I were to ride the Matterhorn at Disneyland, or Apocalypse at Six Flags Magic Mountain, or some older wooden roller coaster, let's say, around anywhere, I would understand its context. I would understand its historical value. I would understand the fact that it is a wooden roller coaster. Its supports are probably not as perfect as they were when it was freshly built. So I go onto the ride having that expectation, knowing that I can fully experience and fully enjoy what it is that I'm experiencing, which is roller coaster history. And in terms of this musical structure, with that choppiness, I actually appreciate it so much more than I would in any other context, mainly because this is the music, this is the style, this is exactly what you need to feel. This raw, rough, coarse, rugged grittiness that just really comes through, not just in the voice, but in the musical structure, in the way that it's composed. Just having this coarseness not just come through in the voice, but come through in the actual musical genre itself, and come through in the musical decisions through musical phrases. And I love it, man. Oh, and that was so smooth too, just the get me. Yeah, really cool. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. I can only imagine how difficult it is to create that kind of coarseness in your voice while being dead center in the middle of the pitch at something like a forte or a fortissimo dynamic, or a loud to heavily loud dynamic or volume. And dude, just the level of skill and precision that would take to understand what your voice is capable of and understand what it is that you need to do in order to complete the well-roundedness of the piece. Man, this is really incredible stuff, man. Oh man, and something I really love about this too is just the fact that right now, even though his sentences are hard-hitting, each single word, the piece itself just doesn't lose any of its momentum. They're constantly generating that continuous cycle of sound. There's no unintentional retard. There's no accelerando, which is an acceleration of the piece by any means. It's all within the meter, the musical meter of the piece. Even though you just feel this hype, you feel this immense energy radiating off of them, it doesn't affect the actual music that's being produced, which is extremely difficult because as a musician, if any of you have ever performed anything, not even just music, but just of anything, then you know that if you really connect to something emotionally, it is very difficult to keep something as written without falling into the emotion of it, without completely submitting yourself to the emotion of it and losing yourself within it. I remember when I was in university, one of the biggest issues I had that my voice teacher had to work with me religiously on was just simply keeping in time. I often, when I learned a piece and I really connected with it, I would just sing the piece in a way that felt very fluid and authentic to me. But because my voice is very weighted and I really love taking my time with pieces and with notes in particular, oftentimes I would just completely submit to a retard in the piece where the piece just slows down so much because I'm taking so much time and so much liberty with specific areas of the piece, and my accompanist would always be very frustrated at me. I'm sorry, Landon and Yoko. If you're ever watching this, I'm sorry. But my point is that to keep in meter, even with all of the energy and all of the passion and drive and all of the elements that are just raging against you, it's a lot more difficult than people might realize to stay in the meter, to stay in the way that the piece was structured and written, without speeding up, without slowing down, but just staying there, even though your emotional connection to the piece and even though all of the energy you have for the piece is exuberantly high. To still maintain a level of control on that is a lot more challenging than people might consider upon first listen.
Come on, get down with the sickness, and this is the gift that has been given to me.
Oh, just that open body position, just taking in all that energy from the audience. Great performance technique.
I can see inside you, the sickness is rising. Don't try to deny what you feel. Will you give it to me? It seems that all that once good has died.
His voice just naturally is actually quite lovely, and it's not really heavy. It's da 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 da. It's not really deep in his chest voice, and it's not in his falsetto. It's just there's just an open space in the back of his head that just allows the sound to resonate and flow freely. But it's not anything too weighted, because that's the purpose of that more gritty texture of his voice that he can sink into on those more intense parts. But man, I just love this dichotomy between this really lovely lyrical voice with his really coarse and gritty screaming voice. It's so good.
It seems you're having some trouble in dealing with these changes. With these changes.
Just, I know I said this before, but just the fact that he does both those really beautiful light lyrical sentences and those really gritty screaming sentences just in the same musical cadence, in the same musical phrase. I really, really love that. It lets me know that they're not two different things that are separated throughout the song, but both of those things are connected consistently throughout the song. They walk hand in hand together, and I really dig that.
Now the world is a scary place. Now that you've woken up the demon, the enemy.
Oh, those drums. Yeah. And just this guitar riff right here, you get a little bit of these chromaticisms that are just really taking their time. Because right before that, you get the vocalist just laying in these, and you just get this really intense forward, consistently fueling momentum. And now you just get more of these long legato notes on the electric guitar, and to have some of those notes be chromaticisms or notes that don't necessarily belong in the key that they're playing in, it's just it just audibly it adds even more contrast to what the rest of the band is doing, and it adds so much more audible intrigue. It just adds so much more personal connection to the piece, because the more that you can throw in things that your average listener wouldn't expect, the more this piece is going to be able to be replayed and replayed and replayed, which is what you want out of a piece. You don't want to just listen to a piece once and say, yeah, that was fine, or yeah, that was good, and just never listen to it again. You want it to be replayable. You want to be able to hear something new every time you hear it, or find something new to love about the piece, to reinvigorate yourself and your love for it. So to have these little chromaticisms, to have these little changes that you can hear that are just ever so slightly, not out of context for the piece, but add just a little bit more of that intrigue, a little bit more of that pull to have you be more invested in the piece as a whole. I love that. I love that so much.
Oh, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Open up your hate and then open the mate. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You mother, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You fucker, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Madness has now come over me.
Just amazing, man. Just amazing. To be able to produce that kind of sound, but just completely stick to the structure of what was written and just putting in your all into it. You know, it's like watching a professional athlete just put everything on the line for the sport and just watching them put their entire being to produce the best possible outcome for something. That's what I feel when I hear this music. To just have this immense raw power just radiate from the group, and every single member of the group is putting in their absolute all in the level of energy that's required to produce this kind of music. You know, it's not solely up to the lead vocalist to just show off that kind of energy. Every single musician throughout the video was just putting everything they had into the piece, and I give so much respect to all the musicians, including the lead vocalist. Just amazing stuff. I really enjoyed this. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. If you liked, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you didn't like it, go ahead and leave a dislike and let me know why in the comments. I do read all of the comments, even if I might not heart a reply to all of them. So please just know that your comments do not go unnoticed. My live streams are currently on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is subject to change, but presently that's what it is, and I will keep you all informed and updated if there are any developments in that regard. I'm also currently in the process of building up my Patreon. It's not going to include just music videos, but it will also include my reaction to anime, because I'm very fascinated about human beings and the human condition as a whole. So to learn and to talk about specific decisions that characters make, or to talk about the philosophy behind the actions of certain events, or talk about the philosophy behind some of those decisions, or to talk about the events or ideas, or just pretty much anything, that's going to be all on Patreon, and I'm really excited to keep working on and building that up, and I will absolutely let you guys know when that is completed. I really appreciate all of you being here. It really does mean a lot to me, and I can't wait to see all of you in the next video. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone.